Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive. Today, we're heading to a galaxy far, far away to explore the early life of Luke Skywalker. I mean, you know him, right? The hero of the rebellion, the Jedi who went toe-to-toe with Darth Vader. But what about the years before all that, before he even picked up a lightsaber? We've got excerpts from this. Well, think of it like a fictional biography of Luke pulled details from comics, novels, even those little hints you get in the movies. It's like we're uncovering the events that made him who he was before he even knew Noti the Force was with him.
Yeah, this is what gets me excited going past that A New Hope story we all know.
Yeah.
It's a way more, well, nuanced backstory for him.
Right from the start, though, this biography throws in a prophecy. Someone's gonna, quote, save the universe from a great imbalance, end quote. No, it doesn't say it's Luke, but come on, right? It definitely sets up his destiny. What do you think of that?
Oh, prophecies. They're like a storyteller's secret weapon. You get that anticipation, the stakes go way up. It makes you wonder, what's this imbalance all about? What kind of challenges are coming Luke's way? How is he going to, live up to this huge destiny?
And then, bam, we're on Tatooine with Kid Luke. Forget the boring moisture farm chores. This kid's a natural tinkerer, always messing with his speeder. He's getting into trouble with Tusken Raiders, even, get this, Imperial Inquisitors.
You see that little bit of Anakin Skywalker in him, right?
Yeah.
That recklessness. He's drawn to adventure, pushing limits, even if it means getting grounded by Uncle Owen for pulling crazy stunts in his, what was it, T-16 Skyhopper?
Yeah, and there's this one crazy story. A Wookiee bounty hunter named Kursantan. He attacks the Lars homestead, and Luke, in his trusty Skyhopper, has to swoop in and save Uncle Owen from, well, almost certain deaths.
That's more than just some action scene, though, right?
Yeah.
You see Luke's heroism, his piloting skills, the things that will clearly play a huge role later on.
This biography does a cool thing. It connects back to the movies. Remember that scene in A New Hope where Luke's watching the Tantive, the 4V battle? It turns out it really happened, at least in the expanded lore.
I love that kind of stuff. Bridging the films with these, lesser-known stories, it makes those movie moments even richer, like they thought this whole universe out.
And then we get to the big one.
Yeah.
Luke training with Obi-Wan Kenobi. It's not some intense boot camp, though. It's more like this gradual awakening to the Force meditation, a bit of lightsaber practice, learning to sense, well, the energy around him.
Keep in mind, Luke's just a farm boy here. He knows nothing about the Jedi, the Force, Obi-Wan's got to ease him in, right? Nurture his potential without overloading him.
And we see Luke doubting himself, too. He wonders if he's even cut out to be a Jedi, which, honestly, I think we've all felt that, right? Like, we're not good enough for something bigger.
Oh, totally. Vulnerability is what makes him real.
Yeah.
Makes him relatable. It reminds us that even heroes have doubts and fears. They don't start out perfect,
Okay, so Luke blows up the Death Star Instant War hero. You'd think it's all smooth sailing from there, right?
Not so fast. This biography gets into what that victory does to him, mentally. There's this huge pressure to live up to that moment, like he's got to top himself constantly.
No.
It's like what happens after you peak, right? That fear, you can't do it again.
He even questions if destroying the Death Star was the right call. I mean, it seems simple, good guys, bad guys. But he struggles with the fact that he, well, took lives, even if they were the enemy.
That's what I like about Luke. You see his empathy, his willingness to face the hard parts of war, even when everyone's celebrating. It shows depth.
And then, talk about hard parts, he's on this mission to Deveron. He's exploring an ancient Jedi temple, and all of a sudden he's under attack.
Yeah, the Deveron mission, it's like a trial by fire. It throws him into this crucible where he's got to rely on instinct, raw ability, not just Jedi training. I mean, he's fighting off training remotes, then stormtroopers, all while in these Jedi ruins.
There's this chilling moment. After he beats the stormtroopers, Luke's overwhelmed by anger. He realizes that the dark side, it's there, lurking inside him.
It's like foreshadowing, right? That pull between light and dark. Even those with good intentions can be tempted by power. It's a theme that runs through Star Wars,
Then there's this showdown, Luke versus Darth Vader, on the planet Vrogus Vas. Now, what's wild is this is their first encounter, way before Empire Strikes Back.
Oh, this is huge. It's not just their first lightsaber fight, but what Luke feels in the Force, he senses both Obi-Wan and Anakin, like he's being pulled in two directions at once.
Oh, yeah. That's powerful. It's like he's caught between those legacies, his dad's, and the Jedi path he's starting to walk.
It sets up that central conflict, right? Will he follow his father's path to the dark side or forge his own in the light?
So we've seen Luke fight Inquisitors, a Wookiee bounty hunter, even Vader, but his journey's just beginning.
And think about it. He's done all this before training with Yoda.
Mm.
He's already becoming a skilled pilot, resourceful, someone who instinctively uses the Force to help others.
It makes you wonder, what if he had never met Yoda? Would he have still become the Luke Skywalker we know? That's what we're going to explore as we dive deeper into his story. So after that face-off with Vader, Luke's even more driven to figure out, what it means to be a Jedi. But he's not exactly going the traditional route, is he?
No, definitely not taking the well-trodden path.
Mm-hmm.
He's more like, I don't know, a Jedi archaeologist, digging up lost teachings wherever he can find them.
We see him going to these ancient Jedi temples, searching for holocrons, those data cubes full of Jedi knowledge. He even gets captured by a Hutt who's obsessed with Jedi artifacts. It's like Indiana Jones in space, almost.
It's his resourcefulness that gets me. If he doesn't just sit around waiting for answers, he goes out and finds them, even if it means, well, dealing with some shady characters, putting himself in danger.
And then there's that whole thing with Dr. Aphra. She's this rogue archaeologist, kind of, morally flexible, let's say. It leads to this wild adventure in a place called the Screaming Citadel.
Ugh, yes. The Screaming Citadel, where psychic energy is on the menu and a parasitic queen is running the show. Not exactly your typical Jedi training ground.
It's like something out of a horror flick, honestly. But in the middle of all that, Luke faces a huge test. There's this shortcut to power, a crystal with the consciousness of an ancient Jedi.
That's tempting, right? Imagine tapping into a Jedi Master's knowledge and skills instantly.
Hmm.
But Luke, he resists it. He realizes that real Jedi power, it doesn't come easy. It's about discipline, balance, understanding the Force, not just controlling it.
That's a pretty big lesson, especially since he's still learning the basics of the Force. It shows he gets those core Jedi values even without formal training.
And it shows how dangerous it is to crave power for its own sake. That's a constant theme in Star Wars. And the Screaming Citadel, it's a perfect example of that.
Now, while Luke's on this personal quest, the Galactic War is still raging on. The biography doesn't, shy away from showing how that affects him.
Exactly. It'd be easy to just focus on Luke and the Force, his Jedi training. But he's growing up in a galaxy at war. That shapes him too.
We see him on missions for the Rebellion, fighting the Empire on Jedha, a planet, they've been strip mining it for kyber crystals. He even runs into this creepy death cult and gets to fly the Millennium Falcon talk about a trial by fire.
These missions, they're not just side stories. They're crucial to him becoming a Jedi. He's seeing the real cost of war, the gray areas, the hard choices. It's not simple good versus evil anymore.
There's this one mission on Shutarun, a mining world. He teams up with these rebels. They're fighting for freedom, but using some, questionable tactics.
That's where Luke has to deal with the idea that even the good guys can do bad things. He sees the destruction they cause, and it makes him think, how far is too far? How do you fight for freedom without hurting innocents?
That's something we still grapple with today, right? Not just in Star Wars, but in the real world.
Absolutely. It's thought-provoking to see Luke, this symbol of hope, facing those tough questions early on.
It makes his character, more real. He's not just blindly following orders. He's thinking about what he's doing, the consequences.
And that struggle, that's what makes him a great hero. He's not perfect, he makes mistakes, he doubts, but he keeps trying to do the right thing, even when it's hard.
So we've seen Luke go from restless farm boy to, a Jedi in the making. He's faced dark temptations, the realities of war, and through it all, he's still searching for answers, trying to figure out the Jedi and his place in all of this.
It's amazing what he does before even meeting Yoda. The skills he picks up, the wisdom. He's becoming the Luke Skywalker we know, but on his own terms.
It makes you wonder how much of his success came from those early, unconventional experiences.
Yeah, it's a good question. Did those trials make him stronger, ready for Yoda's training? Or would he have been the same hero anyway? It's cool that Star Wars lets us even ask these questions.
So it seems like Luke is, creating his own WN version of what it means to be a Jedi, taking those old teachings, what Obi-Wan told him, and his own experiences.
Yeah, he's definitely not following a, cookie-cutter path.
Mm-hmm.
More like taking pieces from here and there, forming his own understanding of the Force, the Jedi way.
It almost feels like he's setting the stage for that Jedi Order he builds later, a more well-grounded one, shaped by the lessons he learned the hard way.
Interesting point. I mean, those early challenges facing the moral gray areas, they're definitely shaping how he sees the Jedi. Almost like he sees the problems with the old order and wants to make something new, something that fits this galaxy.
It's pretty amazing what he does before Yoda, right? He's already a good pilot, resourceful, and he just naturally uses the Force to help people.
Makes you think, how much of Luke's destiny was, set in stone? How much did those experiences actually change him? Would he still be the same hero without him?
That's a tough one. Hard to picture his story without those specific moments, the challenges. They seem so important to, well, making him who he is, prepping him for all that's coming.
Maybe Yoda wasn't starting from scratch. Maybe he was more like polishing what was already there, those instincts forged in the fires of experience.
So those early adventures, it's like his real-world Jedi training, right? Pushing him to his limits, making him grow in ways that, well, normal training couldn't.
It shows how deep and, I don't know, layered Luke's story is. He's not just a hero who pops up out of nowhere. He earned his wisdom through hardship, mistakes, facing the darkness and coming out the other side.
It reminds us that even legends, they have their beginnings, their own paths to find themselves. And those paths, they're often messy, unexpected, full of twists and turns.
That's what makes him human, relatable. Even in
Mhm.
Star Wars, the best stories are the ones that, well, remind us we can grow, be resilient, find our own way, even when things are tough.
Well, we've gone deep into the hitting parts of young Luke Skywalker's life, those events that made him the hero we know, the adventures, the struggles with the Force, his path to becoming a Jedi. It was anything but normal.
It's been a fun dive into a part of Luke's life that, well, doesn't always get the attention it deserves. It shows that there's always more to learn, more to discover, even in stories we think we've got figured out.
And it gives us a lot to think about. What did those early challenges mean for Luke's destiny? Could he have been the same without him? And what can WE learn from all this for our own lives?
Those are great questions to think about as you keep exploring Star Wars and the hero inside each of us.
Until next time, may the Force be with you.